What's the weather like over there?
It's really gray. It's getting dark. Starting to get dark early.
Yeah.
You noticing that?
Yeah, and the mornings are cold. Like I had to put on a lot of layers today.
Yeah. Yeah. We've had temperatures in the 30s this week.
Wow.
Yeah. Really, really hot days.
That's amazing. Yeah, it's funny. Hello, we are live, but I will just finish that. We are cold in the morning, cold at night, and then nice and hot in the day. So it's been lovely. No complaining. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Captivate. Our guest today is Heather Jean, and we are talking all about confidence through cabaret. We are 1 minute early, so if you are jumping on, please say hello. And if you have any questions or comments throughout our discussion, we love getting people chatting and seeing what you have to say, and I can relay all of that info to Heather because I will be checking on the phone. So today, like I said, we have Heather Jean, and I'm going to take a minute and introduce you, Heather. So Heather Jean is a co-pioneer of confidence through cabaret. She has owned a successful global consultancy in leadership training and career and confidence visibility coaching for 25 plus years. In her personal journey, things haven't always been easy. However, the skills she shares in her work life are completely transferable to personal life, making the ups and downs easier to flow with and learn from. When Heather discovered cabaret and learned amazing tools in this exciting arena, she learned to take up space and own her voice and narrative in her personal life. Heather's mission is to inspire and illuminate the journeys of others to help them find their true self-acceptance of themselves, finding greater confidence through their lives, personal life, work life, and stage life. I love that bio. Thank you. I'm so happy to have you here today. And let me just make sure that I am set up to see comments. All right, we are good. Lavon is in the house. Lavon says hello and thank you so much. I know Lavon was very excited and intrigued by this conversation, which is exactly what I was when I came upon your group. I remember I was like, cabaret, what is this? So then I joined your group and then we were like, wow, we have a lot of kind of some similarities, some crossover. So I actually chatted already with Heather in her group, and then I wanted her to come and talk to all of you. So thank you so much for coming today.
Oh, thank you for having me, and thank you for being here with us when you're watching this. I am so excited. I mean, I loved our conversation. We do have a lot in common. I will say, when I talk about personal life, work life, and stage life, pretty much all of us have a stage life, whatever that is. You know, if you're here on social media, that might be your stage life. You know, whether you're posting, whether you're, doing lives, whether you're, running a group or community, or whatever it is that you're doing on your social media, that might be your stage life. So it isn't necessarily about how to get onto a stage, although I just went back on stage 3 weeks ago.
Yes, I saw that. So yeah, let's jump right in. So what does it mean? That's a great explanation, because I think when people maybe read that, they're like, oh, stage life. But I love that you explain that. So what does it mean to live cabaret? Maybe tell us a bit about that, going back to the stage.
Yeah.
Tell
Okay.
us
So,
about both.
first of all, I think a lot of people are like, I know the word cabaret, but I don't really know what it means. For me, cabaret is burlesque, because that is my burlesque, and aerial is my jam. But cabaret is, kind of historically, it has a lot of roots in places, like vaudeville has a lot of roots in all over the world in different ways. But it typically refers to something where you're in a small venue with a fairly small audience. At different stages in history, it would have been where there was alcohol served, particularly if you're in the United States. So it could be anything from dancing, burlesque, which is effectively, for a lot of people, I'll come back to this, but for a lot of people is referred to, they think of as stripping. It could be drag, it could be singing, it could be comedy. It could be various aerial equipment. It could be anything that's sort of on a fairly small stage with a fairly small audience. Having said that, Dita Von Teese, who's probably one of the most famous or well-known anyway, burlesque dancers in the mainstream, would only dance on very huge stages. You know, there's no longer cabaret, it's still burlesque dancing. So you'd find a lot of those forms, just as comedians, you know, Jerry Seinfeld would go onto a massive stage, right? So, you know, or any comedian that's successful goes onto a massive stage, but they would have all started in a little cabaret environment. So for me, cabaret is burlesque. That is what I adore doing. One of my co-pioneers is a drag performer and host. I love being around, you know, all forms of cabaret. The cabaret show that I was in, I did burlesque. I did 2 performances of burlesque. One of the other performers did 2 songs. One of them did a song and a burlesque number. So there's a mix of things. And one was a drag king, which is someone who identifies, this isn't only, but in this case, it was somebody who identifies as female and does a male impersonation, if you like. That's a really crass way of saying it, because that's not the only, just as people think of drag queens being a male who performs as a female, that's not true. I mean, because I know lots of drag queens who are females. So and so, but you know, there's a lot of variety and there's a lot of crossover. For me, my crossover is burlesque and aerial.
That's so cool. So how would someone find their cabaret style?
Well, okay. So if you're talking about burlesque, you know, you could have the traditional, like I said to you about strip tease, and you know, we've all probably are familiar with the tease of, you know, like a Dita Von Teese or a Gypsy Rose Lee or something, where it's all, you know, kind of taking off gloves and so on, and it's a real tease. Most of us, when we're in burlesque, would perform what we call neo burlesque, which is just like a whole range of burlesque, and that's the form that I love, because it's about sharing your story or your message. And so it isn't necessarily stripping. In fact, a lot of burlesque dancers don't take anything off. It's just about sharing your story and moving, or in some cases singing. And so when you find your style, you learn some of the basics, like you learn how to walk, or you learn how to do some of the removals like a glove peel, and then you kind of find your own way of doing that. There will be a tone of voice and a temperament. So when I learned the beautiful ways of pulling gloves off, it was fabulous, but I was really bored. So I'm much more of a, you know, put it between my teeth and rip it or peel it, or because I enjoy making strong, loud statements. There's quite an angst to my preference. And I believe that as women, we learn to take up less and less space very often. And we make ourselves small. And when you're on a stage, whether you have an audience or whether it's just in a studio or your own living room, if you don't take up space and command that space, then it's a real shame, because then there's an apology in, oh, sorry, I'm taking up too much space, or I'm being too loud, or I'm imposing my story a little too strongly. And so I love the idea that we get to take back our power, take back our space, own our own body, and share our message with volume.
Yes, I love that. And that is so transferable to entrepreneurs today needing to find space in this very saturated market. So how do you maybe help your clients to take up that space when they feel like there's so many voices, and, you know, to find their own unique way of taking off the glove, metaphorically speaking?
Yeah. I love that. Taking off the glove. That'll be our little byline.
Take off your glove, ladies.
I mean, you could do this with socks. Like if you really wanted to play the home game, you really could just get the long sock and put it on and just kind of like peel it and just, or pull it and just see what your style is. And you'll find your style, or, you know, with your teeth or under your foot. Yeah. So you could totally play with it and you'll find your voice. But so for me, because I have been a career and confidence visibility coach for over 25 years, I've typically worked with people around their work life, because I'm a corporate training consultant. So a lot of my coaching comes off of the back of a corporate training program that I'll have done. So when I'm talking to people about work life and about confidence in that arena, they'll often go, oh, well, this relates to my personal life, because they're not separate. They're all you. So we might have a focus on talking about your career, but it will, if you change that, it will change how you show up, or even your awareness in other arenas. So where I start is I like to start from where people are strong. And so we find that area of strength. Where do you feel confident? How do you know that that's confidence? What is it? How does that show itself for you? And then we look at goals in terms of where do you want to have more confidence? Where do you want to show up with more confidence in your own way? And what does that mean? And then we look at what do you already have that's transferable? Because you understand, if you're explaining something to somebody, or you're sharing something, or you're coaching somebody, they'll know some of it. And it can get really lazy where you can expect the coach to kind of ask you the right question to draw it out of you. And I like to kind of get people to find that within themselves. Where is that in your body? How does that move? How does it show up? What do you do with that? And my favorite analogy of that is I wear very high heels in my dance, like usually 9-inch heels. So yeah, I know. I love it. I love it though. It makes me feel strong and powerful. And the first time I
do you dance in those?
Yeah. Yeah.
I have to see a video.
If you go to confidencethroughcabaret.com, there is a tab that says Cabaret, and you'll see, I think last week or a few weeks ago in that video, I was wearing, I had really small ones because I was doing kind of a suburban housewife kind of narrative. And then I think I'm wearing 8-inch heels in that one.
Wow. That is amazing.
It's fun though, but I share my shoes and my boots, and I because I love that moment when somebody puts on the shoes. And it's not only women, it's especially women, but it's not only women. When they put on the shoes, they go, oh, I feel so strong and I feel powerful and I feel, and I just think, okay, so now let's play with that. Where is that showing up for you? Because you get to use that without the shoes on.
I love that. So, and one of the questions you asked that's so great is like, how do you know that that's confidence? Because we get a lot of like, I want to feel confident. Well, then how do you know when you'll get there?
Exactly.
To that place if you don't even know what that looks like?
Yeah. And it's interesting because when we started, so Confidence Through Cabaret came because of COVID, and I had, all this training and coaching experience, and I wanted to give it to people because I couldn't work, I couldn't travel, and I couldn't get large conferences together. So we just started, kind of a community, and it's kind of grown from there into a podcast and a website and the whole thing, a YouTube channel. And it's just all grown really, really fast. And that's come from, if I had thought about it and planned it on purpose, like I'm going to start a business, my imposter voice would have started going, you don't know how to do a YouTube channel. You don't know how to do a podcast. You don't know. And it would have been that voice. But when you engage where you do have confidence and come from that place, that's completely transferable. So I've done other things. I've run huge conferences for hundreds of people. Of course I can start a YouTube channel. I just followed the instructions, and then I started posting stuff, and I didn't do it perfectly, but as long as you let go of that and you kind of start it and figure out, oh, I quite like doing this, I'm enjoying this, it's worth investing a little bit of time to do maybe some branding on it, or organize it into playlists, or whatever it is that you want to do with it. then it's with, but what we do is we go into this whole kind of voice where we go, I don't know how to do that. And what playlists would I have? And what would I put on each one? And we plan it and we over plan it. And then when we've done it, we don't even realize what that's meant, what we've achieved for ourselves. So I start from that place. I start from that feeling. And then I kind of go, okay, let's throw that at whatever it is that you want to be doing.
That's genius. I think we all start from that place of lack mindset rather than that abundance.
Yeah.
And this is really hitting home for me too right now, Heather, because I've been, as you know, like speaking coaching, but there's always like, am I trying to be like how the other coaches talk or market how I see other people marketing? And I've been feeling this call. Actually, I pulled the card I pulled on the new moon was creativity. And, you know, my background is theater and dance and singing. And I just don't show a lot of that because it feels like, oh, well, that's not, you know, what I'm supposed to be talking about. But then every time I do, which is, I just feel like you, like, well, that's just easy. I don't see how that's anything special because it's easy for me. And then when I do show those pieces, I do find that a lot more people are very intrigued or engaged by those things that maybe I don't see directly aligned with my message, but is more of me.
It is, but it's all you. Yeah. Your work you and what you're supposed to be sharing, and your coaching you and what you're supposed to be doing, and your stage you and what you used to do or what you do at different times. That's all you. It's all you. And all I do is help people transfer that into and then obviously there's some coaching, there's sometimes some training to sort of, you know, upskill some of the things that you maybe didn't know or what, but I find out so this is the thing. I know a lot of people have group coaching sessions. I know that a lot of people talk about coaching in what I consider to be training. I'm what I call an old school coach, where coaching is you ask questions, you ask really great questions to disturb the thinking and really help that person tap in. And so I'm not disrespecting anybody who's doing something different. I just have a different language around what that is. So for me, if I'm coaching somebody, you know, and they're talking about maybe, I don't know, work-life balance, for example, it's all your life. It's all you. So why would you not be using those strengths and applying them where they belong? Now, when I before Confidence to Cabaret, when I only did corporate work, it was more difficult because, you know, you go into a major corporation, you're not probably talking about cabaret. So I didn't get to tap into the personal life so much. It's a shame that a lot of businesses won't pay for that personal development in terms of their own personal life. But they want it to increase work productivity or, you know, results for their company. That's the investment deal. So that's fine. So I was only doing that, but I wasn't able to share me and the bigger picture. And so once I tap into talking about how cabaret and how, you know, my own personal preferences and learnings from personal awareness of my own personality and all of the different facets, that's when you start to go, oh, I see how they all fit together. But it's not different. They're all just analogies.
And it's interesting that you talk about the corporate world, because I think we do feel like in that world, we have to wear like a blazer. And I was just talking about this with my husband, because I have had a couple more corporate clients, and most of my clients up to this point have been like other online coaches who are very, you know, their brand is them. And how can I transfer me? Like I said, do I have to find a blazer if I go, you know, to a corporate workshop? Like, I don't want to do that. But at the same time, you do have to sometimes, you know, conform to what's acceptable.
Yeah,
right.
You have to wear the uniform.
So what about labels? You know, you talked a bit about like, we have these, like my work life, my stage life, like, and then like what I said, I don't know how I bring these things together sometimes, especially as someone who's very multi-passionate. And I am going to check the comments. So I apologize if it talks. I just want to make sure that I'm not missing anything. Okay, there we go. No comments so far. That just Lori is here and Lavon is here. Hello, ladies.
Thank you. Okay, so labels. So I had until 2019. So my kind of lockdown has been going since 2019. My husband passed away in the beginning of 2019, and he had dementia. So I was a carer before that. So I was a wife, I was a mother, I was a full-time carer, I was a businesswoman. I had 2 businesses at the time. I had all of these labels, and I kept myself very, very busy, to the point where I now realize, having had the COVID time, to reflect that I wasn't ever allowing myself to think about, how do I feel? I lived in and believed my labels. So this is what I do as a mother, this is what I do as a carer, this is what, and all of these different things. And I did do self-care, but my self-care was because I had breast cancer during that whole scenario as well. So that was going to my appointments, or, doing the things that they said I needed to do. And then when my husband passed away, he left me in a huge amount of debt, and I had to move house. So, which is probably one of the worst things you can do. Right. And my youngest son went off to university at the same time. So I was now an empty nest. I was now a widow. So I had a whole new pile of labels. And right at the end of me moving house, I got in a very serious car accident, and I had neck and spine damage. So I couldn't do my dancing or any of my stretching or anything. And so I was quite locked down for most of 2019 for all of those things. And then I just got back to work in the January of 2020, and then ta-da!
Oh my God.
And then we know what happened. So I worked for about 6 weeks, and then that killed it. So, but what I found was that all of these labels had ended, and I felt crushed because I made myself be a mother and a this and a that, instead of being me, who is a because if you think about it, all of those labels, whatever they are, whether that's a work label or a family member label, or something in the community. I used to manage a rugby team for 11 years as well. So like all of these lovely labels that I had defined who I was, but they were always going to end. Like best case scenario, they end. Right. So it was only one way that my late husband's health was going to go. And because it's degenerative, was either he would pass away or he would need a full-time care in a home. There was only one way that my children were going to go. Hopefully, best case scenario, they were going to grow up and leave. Right. That's what you want. Your career, there's only one way that's going to go. It will one day end. That doesn't have to be tragic. We hopefully will get to retire and enjoy our lives. So when we define ourselves by our labels, then we're limiting who we are. And I lost touch entirely of who I am. And when I went to Cabaret, and I think this is why I'm quite in your face with my dancing, is because I have a lot of stuff stored up that I need to release. And dancing is my way of releasing it. Some people go to the gym, some people walk or run, or some people binge on Netflix, or whatever that is that allows you to release. But I have found that if you release in a way that you love, then you get to use that energy and you get to explore it without feeling afraid of what's coming up for you. So I have some stuff going on with my youngest son right now, because he's off in Nova Scotia, Canada, and I'm in the UK. And he's not talking to me right now, not as in like he's angry, but as in like I don't know what's going on, and he's supposed to be back at university, and I don't know where he is. He's not in touch, so that's a problem. And so I've stopped stretching, because when I stretch, it releases a lot of stuff. And I'm right now trying not to feel that. I'm trying to pretend it's not happening. And so it's I know exactly what's going on because I feel it in my body where it's like, no, hang on to all of this because then it maintains its control. And so it's a small example of that because it will iron itself out. And either I will eventually need to do a stretch class and then I will cry, or I will find my son, or I'll go to Canada, or something will happen. But, and it will sort itself out because it does. But if you do that too many times with too many things, it becomes very toxic. And I lost even like, what do I like to eat? What do I like to do? What do I like to watch? I didn't know any of those things because I was doing everybody else's stuff. So I would watch whatever was on, or I would eat whatever everybody else wanted, or whatever it is. And that is a really tragic way of losing yourself and not really living your values and who you are. And everybody else misses out on that too when that happens.
That's the key there, because as women, I'm sure there's a lot of men. I say this because most of the people I work with are women, and so I see like a pattern of, we have been the servers and the nurturers, which isn't a bad thing, and we're not saying just to only worry about yourself. But I think when we realize that the more we express ourselves and are in touch with ourselves and get to be us, then we are of service. You're not taking away from anybody by even self-care. I hate calling it that because it's so overused, but I call it like self-maintenance. Is just something we just should be maintaining. And part of self-maintenance for me is creative expression, like is expressing yourself. But of course we put it on the back burner because life requires all these other commitments. So how do we make time and make space for that? Do you have anything to say about that?
Well, okay, so by nature, and I know technically it's not a value, but I always say that play is one of my strongest values. You can call it what you want. You can call it playfulness. You can call it joy. You can call it whatever it is that makes you feel better about it. But for me, it's play. For me, it's childlike behavior. It's beginner's mind. It's, anytime I'm in an aerial class, if somebody says, oh, who hasn't done this move before? I always say me. I want them to explain it again. I want to relearn everything each time because I get it more deeply and richly. And so I love to play with stuff. And what would happen if I tried this bit? Or what would happen if I did that? Or, and we just did on my website, we just did a 3 masterclasses last month of makeup. And people said, I really want to learn how to do makeup. And I was like, well, okay, some people do, like some people want it, they don't know where to start and they don't want to ask. And, and so we did a really basic one. And then we did like, a much more elegant one. And then we did a full on drag face. And it wasn't ever about the makeup. It was about like play with yourself. See what happens if you make your eyebrows up here. You'll feel different, play, engage, and it will bring out, it's the same as the shoes. It's the same as whatever it is that you have hiding in your closet that you don't have the courage or guts to wear.
The red lipstick.
Yeah. And do that, play with those things. It doesn't have to be makeup. It could be anything you want it to be, but go and just try it and see what happens. And you'll find all kinds of things coming out. And notice, like, are they uncomfortable in a good way? Are they uncomfortable in a, I don't ever want to do this again way? What's going on? And then, you'll start to feel into that. The other thing I would say that is a really worthwhile exercise that everybody should be doing and checking in with and aligning with is our values, really knowing what your values are. Because if you don't know what they are, then it's really hard to stay true to yourself. Our values are our compass. They tell us what's right and wrong for us. And everybody's talking about self-care and boundaries and gratitude and all of these things, and I love all of that, but it can be a bit rudderless if you don't have that direction of, is this right for me? And that's what happened to me with the labels, because I was just following along with what I was supposed to do. And then it was like, wait, is this aligned? Is this who I am? Is this how I want to express myself? Is this, how I want to connect with people. And so it's worth checking in. If you haven't done it for a while, go check in with your values again and find out, there's a hierarchy to those values. Family and honesty are two of your values. Would you lie for your family? That'll tell you the hierarchy of them.
I love that. I actually have my values written out right here on my thing. I have a friend who kind of goes through her whole business, goes through that workshop to get you really clear on your mission, your vision, and your values. And I had never done that, not as a business, not as even as a person. And it's true. I forget that they're there sometimes. You get used to seeing something. It's like, oh, is this falling in line? If I start this workshop or I launch this course, is that part of my value system? And it's so great. And another thing, when you talked about, exploring and being playful, I think the labels can come in there too, because so growing up, I took ballet, but my sister took singing. And I loved singing, but I was like, well, I'm the dancer. I can't tread on someone else's, and so even with creative play, I think sometimes we put those labels, and she's an artist, like a visual artist. So I just think, I can't draw. It's not my thing, and I just don't even explore that because I've put that label on myself. And then when I've done art therapy and things like that, it's like, wow, it's actually really fun to just put paint on a canvas and it doesn't have to look anyway. It's, that's what art therapy is. And I just think art is such a great tool, any kind of art form or physical expression, to remove those labels and to be like, okay, maybe I'm not going to be like an artist. I'm not going to make money, wearing these 9-inch heels, but it's not, you can still explore it and give yourself permission to be free to see that, because you may actually, so then I started taking singing lessons and I'm like, no, I am a singer, damn it. I'm claiming it now.
Isn't it funny because so I'm not a singer. I know I'm not a good singer and I'm not a drawer or painter, but I do them. And so the difference, the way I talk about it is I sing. I probably shouldn't. A lot of people would probably appreciate it if I didn't, but I do, and I certainly, I draw stick people and I put all funny little things on them. Thanks. And I make the people wear shorts and skirts and, because I can do triangles and, so I draw, but I am not an artist in that way. I'm also not a dancer, really. I mean, the number of people who say to me, I could never do cabaret because I don't have rhythm, or I do not have rhythm. I am not kidding you. Not a word of a lie. I do not have rhythm. I also cannot remember choreography, especially if somebody else teaches to me. So I am the best person in any class. Like, people like going to classes with me because they'll go, well, I know you won't remember the choreography. It's less pressure for me to, but the difference is I don't care.
Yeah.
Because I just enjoy moving. And when the choreography goes in a direction I forgot, I just keep moving anyway. And I do this. And then when I can, I pick it up again if I feel like it or whatever. So for me, it's not really about being a good dancer. It's about expression.
Yeah. And it's true, because I think sometimes, for me anyways, I even was trained, I took ballet my whole life. And when my husband met me, he gave me a keyboard and was like, come on, we can jam together, because he plays guitar and he drums. And I'm like, I don't know how to do that. It's like, what do you mean? You play the piano, you took till grade 8. I'm like, yeah, I can, give me some Beethoven and I'll play it. I don't know how to just jam. That wasn't something I ever learned. And same with dance. I was a ballet dancer. There's ways you do this. You don't just, and so as an adult, I almost had to unlearn. I'm grateful for that learning, but I had to unlearn that to really see what, and yeah, singing. I just mean I love karaoke. I'm not saying I have to go, be Beyonce or anything, but just to sing because it makes me feel good. I love doing it. It's like a physical workout for me. And yeah, so I love that. And I think we need to, it doesn't have to be performance. It's a tool, really, right? Is what you're saying?
It's exactly what I'm saying. And and you'll see my the cabaret video. If you go on confidencecabaret.com, you'll see it. I haven't actually told my own community it's there yet, because and the reason I haven't is because I haven't watched the video yet, and I'm not ready to watch the video yet. And this is a key thing for me that I did with my children as well, is about how we store the information. So I've gone off and I've done something. And in this case, it's Cabaret after a couple of years. Yeah. And I'm not anywhere near the same shape or size or strength that I was before. And we had nowhere to warm up, and flexibility is my thing. So I can always do something into splits or something. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like, oh, good. I'll just do this and I'll stick to the stuff I know. I couldn't do any of that because there was nowhere for me to warm up, literally nowhere except for a set of stairs. So I freestyled the whole thing. And if I watch it, I know that I will pick apart and go, I should have done that there. And, oh, I don't like that. And that would have been better if, and I will critique it. So what I'm doing right now, and it's 3 weeks today, I was still making my costume, panicking right now. I am storing that in terms of how much I enjoyed it, what happened for me, what that felt like. And I'm storing that in my body and my mind, so that when I think about Cabaret and I think about the next time I perform, which won't be very long, I won't be thinking, oh, I hope I don't do that again, or I hope I don't fall there, or I hope I don't, because that's what I'll associate with that joy. And I'm doing it because I enjoy it. And so if I can feel good going into that next experience from all the things that I have stored, then that's going to make me much stronger.
Yeah, because in the end of the day, it's about the conversation that you and the audience have, and how that makes you feel. I remember when I was directing drama with older adults, and we put on our performance, and they would come to me after opening night and be like, hey, what are your notes? And I'm like, just go, like, you don't give notes right after the performance. The performance was great. You go home, you celebrate with your family. And then before the show the next night, if I did have some notes, then I would tell them, because then they're back in like how can I do better? But you got to enjoy and celebrate those wins. And I tell my clients too, I know a lot of coaches will say, like, you got to watch all your live trainings and then learn from them. And I rarely rewatch it, not because I'm against like learning from yourself, but you're right. Then I just get trapped in this loop. And like, now I can separate myself, my emotions, from like objectively watching. But most people at first, you just go in this, emotional, oh, I suck. Oh, I should never go live again. Like, you don't have that, I don't know, I guess resiliency yet to be able to look at it objectively and not feel like you have to throw in the towel. So I love that you said that just enjoy it and stop, because perfection, there's always going to be something, as a creative, there's always going to be something you can do to be better.
And that's very often our imposter voice. Yeah, better. Yeah, that's very often our imposter voice talking. Not always, but often the perfectionism is coming from a place of our imposter voice where it's not good enough. So then who am I to be doing this or putting this out there? And I've coached so many people who will say, I did my course, I recorded it 15, 20, 30 times. And I'm like, are you kidding? Did you get your message across the first time? Because it doesn't matter. I've done it with my slides all messed up. I've done it with, the lights going out, or the light from outside getting dark and I can't be seen properly, but my message is still there. It's still the right thing. It doesn't have to be perfect. And I've let go of that need for constant control, which was forming my perfectionist voice. So once I got control of that perfectionist voice, I was kind of going like, who are you? Because I don't need you right now. Like, it's great that you want me to do better. I will appreciate having those videos, because the next time I perform, I'll be able to see it and I'll be able to get better and better and better. And that's what confidence is. It's just momentum. It's not something you get before before you perform or before you do your podcast or your lives.
Yes.
It's just the end of
confidence is just momentum. That's our golden nugget, everyone. And I say that all the time. You don't learn to be confident. It's like riding a bike. You're not confident if you don't know how to do it, but you got to start doing it to be confident. Or like skiing or any kind of sport. I would never be like, oh, I'm really confident at snowboarding if I had never been on a snowboard. So how are you going to be confident speaking or doing a live video if you've never done it before?
Absolutely. It's just, do you know how to go live? Do you know how to push the button? Do you know what you're going to say roughly? Like, do you have a plan of like things you want to cover? And that's it. And actually, if you miss one of those things or you add in one, nobody knows, because they didn't know what you were going to say.
Yeah. I love this. We could talk about this for hours.
I know.
This is such a great conversation. Let me see if I think Levon is still here. She always has some great feedback. But another thing, so once you've kind of put down the labels, and I love thinking of labels too as like hats, because like we take our hats off, right? So there's so many hats we wear throughout the day, but when we take our hats off, who are we when we're just us? And then we've released the labels, we've explored the play, we've expressed it. And then when you start to be seen for who you are, like, is there some, like, what can we be prepared to maybe feel when you start to really be seen for who you are? Especially, I know a lot of my community here is online entrepreneurs. So, and in today's world, there is sort of breaking that fourth wall, as we say in the theater, where people want to see like your real life. We want to know what you had for dinner. And like, and I think a lot of people fear that like total vulnerability or being fully seen. I don't know if I'm making sense here, but do you have some insight around that?
Yeah, I think you have to be comfortable. Like you have to have boundaries. Just as if you're, running your own business, you have to have boundaries of when you switch off, because you'll know you could be on socials 24/7. Right. There'll always be some post or something to engage with. And I mean, that's the nature of it. But you have to have boundaries, right? Well, it's the same thing in terms of what you share about yourself. And so, if you meet a new friend, with some of them, you'll connect with them in a certain way where you'll share things that you might not have even shared with other people before. And then there's other people where it could take quite a long time before you build that kind of relationship, if ever. I have a lot of friends who don't know very much about my personal life at all. We have shared memories because we've done things, but we don't talk about certain things. And so we have those kind of boundaries already there anyway. But it's a great idea to know where, if you're talking about online and you're talking about business, is to know where your boundaries are. So for example, when I'm running a corporate conference, or I used to be, then I would always meet delegates for breakfast. I would be with them all day, and I would be and have dinner and be in the bar with them. So I would be with them like 18 hours a day for several days sometimes, because I loved that. But I don't know anyone else who did that. They would have breakfast in the room because they wanted that quiet time in the morning to be getting ready, or they would meet for dinner, but then they would leave right after dinner, or they preferred to have their time to do what they wanted to do. And I think we all have to know what those things are. But what would happen is a lot of trainers would say, oh, well, you're always with them, I better be always with them. Why? Like, what's that about? I'm doing it because I've chosen to, because I want to, because I'm 100% here with them. But you get to be, go and phone your family, or go for a run, or do your thing. We all get to do that. And I think, it's another symptom of imposter syndrome. Again, it's not only caused by that, but this whole comparative thing of, competing it better than you were yesterday. That's what you should feel. That's it. Stop comparing yourself to everybody else and saying, oh, they told this story about, how that was. I didn't talk about my vulnerability until, 51 weeks ago. I didn't talk about it at all, because I wasn't ready to. I didn't want to. I was happy to talk about, like, factually, this is what my course of life has been. But now I'll very often be talking on podcasts about what it was like to, go through breast cancer, or be with somebody who had dementia, or whatever it is, so I think, if you don't want to express those things, then don't.
Mhm.
If you want to, then do. But, because when we're in businesses, especially when an online business, we want to connect to people who are authentically the right people for us, right? And we're the right people for them. So there will be people who want to connect with you for what you're sharing and how you're sharing it. You also might find that you need to be in other groups where you get to share. I'm coaching a few coaches right now where they are really very different to how they are online, and they're much more vulnerable. They're sharing how they're really feeling and their own questions about, worthiness, or, what they really want, and their own confidence issues and so on. And so they have that private space that's really different to the persona that they've chosen to share. They're all still us. They're all still us. Me on stage playing different characters, you on stage playing different characters, the different characters that singing a song brings up, those are all still parts of you.
I'm really glad you're talking about this, because I get a little bit muffed when people keep saying authentic, 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 because I think for a lot of people, that means like, yeah, you have to be the exact same all the time. And I'm like, as a natural performer, like when the camera's on, I'm going to be on. I can't be like, hey, what's up? Like, like it's just in me, like the camera's on and I'm excited because I love doing it. And so, yeah, I don't talk to my kids like that. I don't talk to my mom on the phone like that when I'm annoyed at something. Like there's different aspects of my personality. It doesn't mean I'm happy all the time, but that's just the piece that I choose to put out in the world, because that's how I want to serve, with joy and optimism. I mean, that doesn't mean I haven't come out and talked about serious things, but and if that's the people you want to attract by sharing your trauma and you're in it, you're a healer or something, then that's great. But I love that you said that we have different hats, we have different personalities, we have different labels. They're all you, as long as it feels authentic for you, right? Is what I'm hearing. Like you don't have to feel like you have to put on a role, but you can still bring out maybe some aspects that you don't bring out in your day-to-day life.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's a difference between, so I'll give you an example. This will give you a bit of insight into a bit of what I'm like. I had a conversation with somebody on Messenger who had sent me a friend request. And I said, oh, it's great to meet you. This is where I hang out. I'm always in my community. If you want to find out more about, what Confidence Through Cabaret is, this is where it is. And they said, oh, you really shouldn't go in so quickly. And I said, I thought you sent me a friend request. I thought you wanted to get to know me. Are you authentically trying to get to know me? Or are you somebody who's pretending to want to know me so that you can sell me something? Right? Because very often, and we'll have all experienced these patterns, very often they'll say, how are you? And they'll befriend you, and they say, can I send you a link? And I understand it works, but it's not, they don't really want to get to know me. What they want is for me to sign up to their program. And that's fine. But I would rather them say, I have a program. Are you interested in finding out about it? Rather than pretending we're getting to know each other and they really are interested in what I'm doing. You're not interested in what I'm doing. You're interested in finding out how you can sell to me. That's not the same thing. So being authentic is about sort of saying, this is what I'm offering unapologetically, right? You do not need to apologize for what you're selling or doing or offering the world, because you deserve to do that. You get to take up space. And if people say no, that's fine. But you don't have to apologize for it. You don't have to kind of go, oh, sorry, would you mind? No, I'm offering this. I'm not explaining. I'm not apologizing. I'm taking up my space.
That was so great to hear. Because I have to say, like the DMing, that's where I struggle, because it does feel, all my coaches have said, you got to connect. And of course, like I love humans and I love having conversations like you. That's how you and I met. And I love having conversations, but like, I can't love all the 1,000 humans that, you start to meet on social media. And it does feel like, okay, is this conversation going anywhere? Or how do I like strategically ask you if you are struggling in something that I could potentially help you with when I don't even know you? And I'm gonna be like, hey, how do you feel about your confidence today? So it is kind of a breath of fresh air to be like, just be direct and upfront and say like, this is what I do. If you like it, come join me. Otherwise, we'll stay in touch.
Yeah, and that's why I have a community, because then, not everybody has to, I don't want to coach everybody, and not everybody wants me to coach them. So, but they can hang out, and we can gain value from one another by connecting, and if I'm not the right person, then I absolutely want you to go and meet other people. I'll help you find other people. So that's what I'm about. And if I say that unapologetically and people go, oh no, I don't like that, it's too pushy. It's like, I'm not trying to push you. I'm just sort of saying, like, what are you into? Like, because if we're into the same kind of stuff, let's hang out. And then if we're a good fit and you want to work together, great. And if not, then tell me what you look into, and I'll help you find people who do that, or maybe you don't want anything. Maybe you're really happy where you are, in which case, great, come and spread some joy in my community, because I love hanging out with people who are really loving what they do.
Yeah. I love that. Well, I think that person maybe, usually when you get those kind of responses, it's something more about they're uncomfortable because they can't do that or something. Yeah. So Heather,
don't apologize, don't explain. That's my rule. Right?
Don't apologize, don't explain. Yes. I had a friend once tell me it's easier to ask for forgiveness than permission. I've always kept that, because I would always be so trepidate, like, maybe, do you think we could possibly? They're like, just freaking do it. And then if they don't like it, they'll tell you. And this was at work, a colleague, like the managers will tell you if you weren't allowed to do that, just do it.
You're not allowed to, yeah, absolutely. Right. But I think we've talked about this actually before, about that whole thing, because we had in your group, we had the all sending our faces like,
yes,
I can't do it because I can't come long enough, but it's like, why do we need to apologize for how we look, or how we there's kind of dress codes of how you should look if you're at somebody's wedding or what, what I mean, like there's or wearing the blazer for business meetings. That's fine, but we don't need to apologize for who we are. We don't need to. We show up as we are, perfectly imperfect, which is every single one of us.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. No one is perfect. I just said that to my client today. Do you only look to mentors who are perfect? So why do you need to be a mentor who's perfect?
Exactly.
All right. So tell our wonderful community where we can follow you, or what's going on, if there's anything coming up you want to share with us, and where we can work with you, or even just be in your space and your energy.
Thank you. So Confidence Through Cabaret, everything is Confidence Through Cabaret. So you will find on Facebook, I hang out in my community a lot. And I love connecting with people, especially people who want to raise their confidence and really do want to take action. So I have a lot of my socials are people that kind of go, I love what you do. I love, engaging with it. I'm not ready to take action. That's cool. But I also, I work with some members of the community, like sort of separately, that are not online. We don't air it online, where we just kind of challenge one another to take more action that we're ready to take. So you'd find out about all of that in Confidence Through Cabaret on Facebook in the community. Obviously, there's a Facebook page as well. Then Instagram is also posts. I don't engage so much on Instagram. Like if you want to like hang out and have a dialogue, I'm better on Facebook. I have a YouTube channel, which is all got all kinds of playlists for personal life, work life, and stage life, as well as people I have coffee with, your videos on there. I have a podcast, anywhere you get your podcast, Confidence Through Cabaret again. I have a little Twitter account, which is at YBYWYS. And I have a Facebook profile, a Clubhouse profile even, which is at Heather YBYWYS, and those letters stand for it is your body, it is your world, and it is your stage.
Whoa, that's amazing.
And that's what I'm living by.
I love it. And I was like, what is the YWY? I love your group. I have to say, Heather asks really awesome questions in the group that are really thought-provoking. So it's even just a great space to make you go, I never looked at it that way, and start conversations.
Cool. I have a free webinar, beyourimposter.com/webinar. I can put it in the comments. So if something has triggered and you've kind of gone, imposter syndrome, I got all the strategies I've come across, and I put them all together into a webinar, because I was like, this is such an important topic. And you'll find a link to that on confidencethroughcabaret.com. It's on the landing page. There's a link to that as well there. So
awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And anyone, please post any comments, #replay, or, reach out to Heather directly. I'm sure she would love to chat with you. Thank you for being here. And thank you all for watching. Have a good day.